What is going on YouTube? A fascinating graveyard. And today we are at the St. Joseph Cemetery here in West Roxbury, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. And I'm here at this cemetery to visit the grave of one James Bulger, more known by Whitey Bulger. He is Boston's most notorious mobster of all time by far, and it's not even close. Let's talk a little bit about who he was. This guy was born here in Boston and did quite a bit of time as a young kid. He got arrested for hijacking a truck. He spent 8 years in the federal prison system in Atlanta from about 1956 to 1963. He gets out. So sometimes people get out, right? And they say, you know what, I don't want to go back there. I'm going to, straighten out my act and I want to just kind of get a job and settle down. No, this guy was in it to win it, so to speak. Over the ensuing years, him having this group of guys called the Winter Hill Gang, basically what they were all about was extortion, gambling, murder, arson, selling drugs. This guy was a cold-blooded killer. I'm not sure how many murders that are tied to him, because I believe it's more than a dozen. But this guy, even though he might not have pulled the trigger or did the strangulation, he ordered about a dozen murders at least that they know of in the Boston area. This guy would go to your business and tell you, hey, you need to pay me $400 a week protection money. And if you did it, the next day your business might burn down. You might get beat up. If you knew what was best for you back in those days, you paid the Winter Hill Gang protection money, just so you could be left alone and do your business. And this went on for several years. And then finally, after getting hemmed up, Whitey Bulger turned informant. He turned into a rat, and he started working with the FBI and busting other Boston area gang members. So as you can see, this guy was not a very popular person in the Boston area, for other than being a gangster, just being a low-down, dirty rat. So as the 80s turned into the 90s, the FBI, they know that Whitey is up to his old tricks again. You can't, you're not going to take all the criminality out of his blood, because just that's who he was. He was just a stone-cold gangster at heart at the end of the day. And even though he was in his 60s, you would think about that age, you would start slowing down. But no, this guy is speeding up. So it looked like Whitey, he's got a lot of money, and he starts buying off some FBI agents in the office here in Boston. And one of the agents, by the name of John Connolly, who was on Whitey Bulger's pay sheet, he goes up to him and he tells him, hey, listen, there's a sealed indictment coming in from the Department of Justice. They're going to hem you up with a lot of stuff. You're never going to get out of prison. Amongst all the charges, you got some murder stuff on there. So he says, okay, thanks for the tip. And on December 23rd, 1994, Whitey Bulger and his girlfriend, Catherine Grieg, they jump on a plane and they disappear from Boston. So when the indictment comes down against Bulger and the FBI start looking for this guy to arrest him, to bring him to jail so they could await trial and charge him with all these murders and all this racketeering and stuff, they're going on the streets, they're going to his house to go look for him, and he's nowhere to be found. And they figure out, okay, he paid somebody off and he flew the coop. So his story is interesting in the sense that, okay, he was a mafia guy, he committed murders, bad things, selling drugs, all that stuff. But what's fascinating about this case is that Whitey Bulger, when he left, he was immediately put on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. Now, usually when you're on that list and you don't get caught, it's because you're probably in a foreign country, probably a terrorist or something along those lines. But just the amount of time that he spent on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list, over 15 years, he was number 2 for a long time until Osama bin Laden was killed in Pakistan. And then he was the number 1 guy on the top 10 FBI's most wanted list for years and years and years. And nobody knew where he was at. Weeks turn into months, months turn into years. Where the hell is Whitey Bulger at? The FBI agents out of Boston would periodically go through Whitey's old neighborhoods, his old hangouts. They would talk to his family. They would talk to his friends. Nobody would say anything. As a matter of fact, as time passed, it actually turned into a joke. I mean, you're coming up to their friends. They're saying like, hey, does anybody see Whitey? And they're just looking at these guys like, you're seriously not looking for him, are you? And the reason why they say that is because since he's a well-known snitch, they actually think that the FBI is hiding him, and they're just pretending that they're looking for him for some unknown reason. But in actuality, no, they were definitely looking for Whitey Bulger, and they were also looking for his girlfriend, Catherine Grieg. Another problem with trying to find this guy, Whitey Bulger, is the FBI, surprisingly enough, did not really have any good pictures of either Catherine or Whitey to show on any posters. All the pictures they had were of them wearing sunglasses, a lot of times wearing baseball caps. They had no real solid, good picture of Whitey Bulger. And, as time went on, and me, always reading up on most wanted people, I remember I would look online and I would always see Whitey Bulger still there. And, by the time he gets caught, I mean, this man is already an old man. So, hey, more than likely, did he die of a heart attack and nobody knows about it? Who knows? Finally, the FBI had sent out a press release. There was a rumor going around that Catherine Grieg had some plastic surgery done. She had some breast augmentation work done. And they had sent out a presser to any doctors in the Boston area if you worked with Christine Grieg to give them a call. And one doctor gave them a call and said, yeah, hey, in my office they did a breast implant surgery. Do you want pictures of it? And they said, oh, okay. So they rushed down to the doctor's office, and they're looking at, the before and after pictures of Christine Grieg, and they finally get a good picture of her. So they come up with a new tactic. Instead of showing, wanted posters online of Whitey Bulger, how about we got this really good picture of Catherine. We got this really good picture of Catherine. Let's make like a 30-second commercial showing her picture, and let's see what happens. So the FBI, they make this commercial. So they send the commercial out to be played during, I guess, when most women, I don't know why they targeted women in getting to see this commercial, but they had this commercial play in 14 different markets, basically during the times that Oprah Winfrey would be on and those kind of talk shows. And somebody called the FBI office in Los Angeles, and to this day, nobody knows if it was a man or a woman. Who was? They don't know. But all we know is somebody called, and they really wanted that $2 million reward, and I'm assuming that they got it, because they called the FBI office and they said, yeah, Whitey Bulger, I know exactly who that is. There is a couple that lives in Santa Monica by the name of Charlie and Carol Gasco. They live at the, what was the name of the apartment? Oh, the Princess Eugenia Apartments, apartment number 303. Go over there and they'll be right there. So the FBI, they go to the apartments and they kind of do a stakeout, if you will. So they see the Gascos go around the neighborhood, and one thing that the FBI profiler had talked about with Whitey Bulger and Catherine is their love for animals and how they would go around the neighborhood feeding strays. So they go to the apartment. The apartment has a sign on it that says, "Do not disturb, do not knock." Okay, so they gotta think of a ruse. Even though this guy is now about 80, 81 years old, he's still Whitey Bulger. We don't know what he's got in the apartment. We don't know what he's ready to do. Is he gonna go out firing, all this and that? So they develop a ruse. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have the manager contact the Gascos and tell them that their storage unit locker downstairs in the garage was broken into, and can you come downstairs and see if anything was stolen from you. So unbeknownst to Whitey Bulger, aka Mr. Gasco, he comes downstairs and he's walking to his storage unit, and all of a sudden you had about a half a dozen FBI agents waiting for this guy. And they got out and said, "Freeze!" Get out their guns. Back, get on the ground, get on the ground, get on your knees, get on your knees. And he looks at one of the FBI agents and he said, "I ain't getting on my effing knees." Same Bulger. So he didn't get on his knees. So they handcuffed him, and as they're handcuffing them, one of the neighbors, some crazy old lady, she goes, "Oh, leave him alone. He has dementia. He's like going crazy." And at first, one of the FBI agents, when he placed the handcuffs on him, he's like, "Oh my God." He goes, "Did I just arrest an old man with Alzheimer's and he's just telling me he's Whitey Bulger because he doesn't know what's going on?" So he asked the guy, he goes, "Hey, listen," he said, "this lady is saying that you have Alzheimer's or dementia." He said, "What's your name?" And he goes, "My name is James Bulger. I don't have Alzheimer's." So he says, "Okay, I got the right guy." And finally over, he's caught. So as they're arresting Bulger and they take him down to the FBI office, they tell him, they said, "Listen, just to make our jobs easier, can you just sign this paper so that you're giving us the right to search your apartment without us having to go get a warrant from the judge?" So he signs it, and he tells the officer, the agent, he says, "Wow," he goes, "I haven't signed that name in a long time." Signs the paper, they go and do a search warrant, and they tear that place apart. And a couple interesting things that they found. Well, they found about $800,000 hidden in the wall of their apartment. They found several different guns, small handguns. They found a rifle, a shotgun. I mean, this guy, it looked like possibly he was going to go down with a fight. And they found like multiple hand soaps, mouthwashes, just hygiene products, but they were all like 99-cent store stuff. And, you know, that's kind of odd. You have $800,000, but then you have like a bunch of 99-cent Dollar Tree products. Like everything in the house is from the Dollar Tree. And he said, and then they asked Whitey, they're like, why that? They're just curious. And he says, "Well, you got to make the money last." He's 81 years old. Hey, if he lives to be 100, he ain't working. He has no source of, income coming in. So it kind of makes sense. And he also had told them something interesting as well. He said that he had a plan that he was never, ever, ever going to get caught ever again. He said to the FBI that if he had felt that he was dying and that it was in his last like moments on earth, that he was going to go out to Arizona and go to one of those mines, those old abandoned mines, and walk or crawl as far as he could into the mine and then die. And in that way, hopefully nobody would ever find his body. But at last, they finally caught him. So finally, he is convicted on 31 different counts. Conspiracy to commit murder, arms dealing, trafficking, you name it. He was found guilty on it, and he was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms behind bars. Now, first he was taken to one prison here, one prison there. Finally, he was taken to a prison in Florida, and that's where he was doing his time. I don't know why. I don't believe that anybody's ever been able to find a reason why, but he was actually transferred to the United States Penitentiary in Hazleton, West Virginia. Now, nobody probably knows this about that prison, but it's a very notorious prison, very violent, very understaffed. And that's where he was transferred to. He wasn't even there, I believe, a few hours when on October 30th, 2018, he was found beaten to death in his cell. I believe at the age of 88. He might have been 88 or 89. And according to some of the guards, this is, I want to say this, I don't know if it's a rumor or an old wives' tale, whatever, how you want to call it, but there was claims that one of his eyeballs was plucked out of its socket. Now, I don't know if whoever did this crime beat him so viciously, which is what happened. They believe that somebody had a lock and placed it in a sock and just beat this old man to death. And prison officials, they believe they know who committed the crime. It was one of these 3 people. It was either Freddie Gias, Paul DeCalogero, or Sean McKinnon. I might be saying that first name wrong. I think it's pronounced Gias. They were immediately all taken to solitary. They were not charged with the murder, but they were kept in solitary until I believe recently DeCalogero and McKinnon were moved out of solitary. But Freddie Gias, who was in prison for life for a couple of gangland killings in the Boston area, he's the one that they believe is suspected of committing that crime. However, he hasn't been charged. This guy, ever since that day, October 30th, 2018, this Freddie guy has been in a concrete box 23 hours a day. He is not allowed to go outside. He is not allowed to watch television. I don't know if he's allowed to even have books in there. This guy could only use the telephone twice a month. They have yet to try him for the murder. I don't know if that's even legal, what they're doing. But at the end of the day, it is what it is when it comes to murder. I mean, you're talking about a guy, Whitey Bulger, who was a very, very vicious person. Just like a lot of people involved with gangs, mafia. I know a lot of times we glorify it in television, we glorify it in the movies, but at the end of the day, even though a lot of the people that they're killing are people associated in the life of crime, there's a lot of people that he killed that were not involved in the crime. There's people that he killed that, they didn't pay him fast enough. And you're dead. Hey, I just lent you $10,000. Oh, I'll pay you tomorrow. No, you're not going to pay me tomorrow. Don't worry about it because I'm going to have you whacked. And that's what this guy would do. And who knows how many murders this guy had something to do with that the FBI was unable to tie him to. Anyways, enough about that. Let's show his grave. So, this would be a slightly interesting grave because he does not have a grave marker. But if you look at several different articles online, they all point to the fact that he's buried right here. And this is Whitey Bulger's parents' grave. You see the Bulger name right there in the back. And you see his parents' names, James and Jane Bulger, and the dates of their deaths. And it is believed that either he was cremated and his ashes were buried here, or he was actually buried here. But as you can see, somebody left a little small bottle of alcohol. So I'm led to believe this is Whitey Bulger's final resting place. Very, very notorious gangster. And I'll say this, you know, bad guy at the end of the day, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm very impressed that he was able to stay out of the law's reach for all those years. And I always wondered, is this guy even dead? Is he in Thailand? Is he in China? So I give him credit. I give him credit for being able to stay free as long as he did. But, you know, at the end of the day, what goes around comes around. And, you know, that is so true. Payable on death, as I like to always say. Anyways, guys, I hope you found this video fascinating. All right, guys, I will catch up with you on the next vlog. Have a good one, and peace out.